Feminism was the nail in the coffin for Black American families. During the 70s, on blackdemographics.com, they show the decline of marriages in the Black American community. My name is Asha Sekhmet, and I am a Tantra practitioner, oracle, spirit guide, and my purpose is to build a sovereign community based on like-minded souls to become closer to the Creator without strict religious doctrine. We practice polygamy, tribalism, and sovereignty. This video is for Black American women who is seeking an alternative path in life. You are searching for something deeper. Now, this is a way that you can think of me holding the red and blue pill. And if you are seeking truth and awareness, right, then you're in the right place, especially as it pertains to family, marriage, and community for us as melanated people living in America. All right, so let's talk about this. Now, I will say this. If I was guiding a young Black American woman who was seeking an alternative path, meaning that she was seeking something deeper, she wants a community, I would start with her tearing down indoctrination, which was feminism. Black women in America are born into feminism. You had the first wave, the second wave, the third wave, and the fourth wave. If a person denies this, then they're denying truth, because this is the reality of America, right? So when we talk about this from the perspective of what feminism truly is, right? That's women empowerment, that's women self-equality to men in different areas of life, right? So there's a difference between white feminism and how that has benefited, of course, European women in America, as it should have, right? It has benefited them, but it has not benefited Black American women. And if anything, it has been the nail in the coffin to what is actually culturally us, right? So I would start there, because in order for you to become something different, to become something new, you have to go through a re-education process, right? And you need masculine leadership and guidance, right? Because I wouldn't be where I am today, right, without my, husband guiding me, right? And I've had, leaders like my father and my teacher, who was Master Yao, when I went through learning indigenous cultures. And I just wouldn't know and be who I am today had I not been receptive to guidance from, the divine masculine to help me on my journey and of getting knowledge of self. Okay. So when we look at this today, it's just a lot of comfort, right? So a person could be like, well, it looks comfortable. Like feminism is like the self-empowerment. Everyone focus on themselves, individuality. We're born into that. I was born into that, right? I was not an exception to it, but I have a unique perspective because I also went through an indigenous initiation into indigenous culture for 7 years in my 20s. So I'm able to see both consciousness, right? That's a unique perspective. And as I went on my journeys and learning, if you're in the environment, it's like, how can a fish understand the nature of its water when that's its water, right? That's in its environment. You have to be placed outside of your environment to truly look down on it, to understand it, right? And especially when you put in the element of comfort, right? So, someone may not see the benefit, right, of understanding how feminism impacts the Black American community, because maybe they have some comfort. And the only thing that I can say to that is that, it just like in slavery, people can some people can have a comfort in their captivity. Some people can find comfort in that. And that's just what that is. But for people who are searching for something deeper, then here it is, right? Some people have gone through hardships for Black women in terms of relationships, in terms of family dynamics, and you're seeking answers. You're searching deeper. Maybe you didn't have the best experiences in religion, right? And things are bringing you here, okay? So all I'm going to do is just maybe perhaps challenge some of the beliefs that you were taught, and you go about your ways and reconsider everything you think you know about who you are, what you are, where you are, and why you even exist in the human realm. Okay, so this is spiritual, right? So feminism, right? We know that the waves came through, and now we have to also understand today it is subliminal feminism. So they've already done the work, right? You have the Alice Walker, the Bell Hooks, they were CIA agents, right? There's proof out there to verify this claim. I personally believe that is true. If you don't, then okay, right? So I've seen enough evidence to support that they were indeed CIA agents in cahoots with Gloria Steinem, who was in fact a factual CIA agent who was planted to go into the Black American community, Planned Parenthood, and the work that she did. And she had some interminglings with Black women who were also, I believe, a part of this agenda to push feminism into the Black community, so that they deter Black women from pursuing family and community and go into education in terms of the American institutions and careers. So choosing that pathway, ultimately, we see that there is some parallel between that and slavery, right? So enslaved African women or enslaved melanated women being forced to take care of their white families, slave owners, take care of them, like breastfeeding from their breasts for white enslaver children. And then there was restrictions on what they could do in terms of them having their own families. So, things to regulate their marriage with a Black man, things in terms of like their food and how they're taking care of their family. All of that was monitored and regulated while the enslaved Black woman took care of the white family. Okay, so that is spiritually very similar to the concept of feminism today, like how it shows up, right? So you take care of self, you're maintaining an infrastructure, right? While you still do not speak your own language, you still do not wear your own clothing, you still outsourcing in terms of your well-being and taking care of yourself instead of having your own sovereign community with your own people. So really, it's just a shift. It was a shift from one enslavement to another. And Dr. Frances Cress Welsing talks about this in her book, The ISIS Papers. I highly recommend reading that because she talks about how Black women during that era were confused. They were confused and they were tricked into following white women into feminism, and that negatively impacting Black women communities, the communities that they belong to, and the lack of thereof, right? Right. A community is not just people surviving, right? A community is something very advanced, right? Meaning that you have a nationality, you all are sovereign. That's a community, right? If you're still relying on people to take care of your education, your health care, food, that's not a community. You're surviving in a system, right? So when we talk about the truth and reality of some people actually just being comfortable in that. Okay, some people are comfortable in that. But we have to understand that we're in changing times, All right, so now if a Black American woman was comfortable in that, now she's setting her lineage up for failure, because Black American women today, I would say that is 25 and younger, their realities is not going to benefit off of old feminist codes, like go to school, get a job, have a pension. That's outdated. So although there is an illusion that may have benefited some Black women in generations that is older than 35, today, that is 2025. That is not the same illusion that is for Black American women that are between the ages of 18 and 25 today, and the ones that are coming up behind us, right? That's not going to be our reality, right? So now we're in a changing time. So my purpose was to bring the information forward, the consciousness. I went through my 7-year initiation to bring the information forward to get back to communal ways and sovereign living, so that we can actually exist as humans, right? And for those souls who it's meant to be for, to become free, right? True freedom, right? This is what this is really about. And I would start, for a Black woman, I would start with educating yourself about feminism in terms of how it has impacted the Black American community. You have to start there. Otherwise, you're missing a whole, you don't even understand your fishbowl. Like, you don't even understand the fishbowl that you're in. And it's very interesting, because as I was getting the information, getting knowledge of self, I would talk to sisters who are in the diaspora about these more private conversations, and the concept of like doing everything for myself, not needing a man to help X, Y, and Z. I talked to a sister from Trinidad, and she was like, that's such a toxic way of thinking from a woman who grew up culturally to see that, right? And we know sometimes that's not always the case, right? Because I'm saying that was her personal perspective as a woman who grew up outside of America, and she's a Black woman and grew up in a culture. Her perspective with that was that's a very toxic way of thinking. And then I also had another sister from Senegal who shared the same sentiment. She grew up in Senegal and moved here when she was 18. And when we talked about this conversation, she said the same thing. She's like, I don't have a problem. Like what is that? Like, what is that type of energy like of with men? Like, you know, like, oh, I could do this by myself. I can take care of it. She's like, I don't have no problem with that. That's so weird. Like, she was saying it like, you know, with her accent, it's just like, it was so beautiful. Like, I was like, yes, I'm glad that you see that the minds here of Black American women, they did a number. It's psychological warfare, okay? It's spiritual warfare. We're not in physical chains anymore. It's mental enslavement, okay? So we talk about feminism, right? You're influenced by it by virtue of you being born in America. Now let's talk about even the concept of the educational system. The educational system favors the way that females learn. Sitting in the classroom, we're talking about in the US, sitting in the classroom, receiving information, giving instructions and directions. That favors female modality of learning, okay? And then we talk about court systems, right? We talk about that. In the times in which family dynamics is within this context, it is most of the time favorable to side with the mother. Just listen to the testimonials of Black men particularly, but men in this country. I listen to the voices of men. What do men say? They're the reflection of what's happening, right? So when we look at this reality, it is apparent that the water is feminism. So you have to study it, learn it. How does this impact your thoughts today? Feminism is not African. Feminism is not indigenous, right? So when we look at that concept, we have to understand too how we are influenced by that, okay? So Now, if we look at the concept of where we are today. So if a Black woman wants to start embodying her DNA, right, her cultural roots, right, getting knowledge of self, what we have with the Maji Community Life System is womanhood initiations. You can learn and get trained to be a wife, right? This is so in depth, right? It is all encompassing on your womanhood, and it's so rewarding and fulfilling to be so in alignment with your femininity, to learn how to take care of your husband and harmonizing with the divine masculine. The framework we use this through is polygamy. We want for our sisters what we want for ourselves. What this means is that we only go as far as our sister. We're not separate entities. We look at ourselves as a whole. That's community-centered consciousness. So that's some of the framework we start from. So if you are a sister and you are seeking something greater beyond the mundane, you want to get out of slavery, you want to get out of superficialness, this empty world, and you want community, and most importantly, you want sovereignty to claim your life and live your life on your terms, then we have that in the Maji community. So what we have is the Sister Wives Rising Call. This is going to be this Wednesday, September the 24th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is our last session for this year. So you can come and join us and learn how to resonate with the divine masculine through sister wives and through polygamy. Learn about poly relationships and the sisterhood that is involved in poly relationships, and learning just culturally the difference and really embodying the beauty that's in your DNA. So you can reserve your spot and just have girl chat with us, really group dialogue, also have fun. You can come and share with us. It's a non-judgmental space, even though we do provide the information where, it's open for sisters to connect and get down to the root, right? And deep conversation, right? You can still share your truth while being open and receptive to growth, okay? So we come here to these calls to grow, okay? That is our mission, but just know that you still have open space to be yourself, okay? So this is going to be this Wednesday, and you can RSVP on my website, ashasekhmet.com. Any other guidance I would give in terms of re-educating yourself, like unlearning, because you have to get back the real education you need to get knowledge of self, you have to go through unlearning, like filtering out and dumping all the things that you were taught, right, about feminism. Some of the books I would read is Yurugu by Dr. Marima Ani. I would look at her information. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. I would also African Holistic Health by Dr. Laila Africa. I would look at his videos, study melanin, so you understand how should a person with the highest melanin count as a human should think. How should they think? Okay, how should they eat? How should they live? And then I would also recommend Awakening the Master Feminine by Master Yao Morris. He does go over in that book the decline of femininity and feminism in terms of the Amazon woman. Okay, so that's where I would start. Okay, so those are recommendations, and let me know if you have any questions. I do have one-on-one sessions for femininity coaching, and I am here to help. Also, if you're looking for guidance in the polygamous journey, just preparing your mindset for this journey as well, I have one-on-one sessions for that. So I look forward to continuing to build with you all. Just let me know if you got any questions. Just put your comments in the comment section, your thoughts, dialogues. I welcome them, experiences, and like this video, share, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video, and also subscribe to my channel.